Greetings, everybody. Welcome to this new episode of O365Eh. On today's episode, we're joined by Tim Brown, who's the founder and CTO of the company Easy on Hold. So today we're going to talk to him about the capabilities with Microsoft Teams, specifically the integration with Microsoft Teams Phone. So welcome, Tim. Thanks for coming on. And I want you to just give our audience a little introduction to yourself and Easy on Hold
Sure.
and some of your capabilities.
Okay, great. Thanks. So Easy on Hold started in 1997. I called a restaurant to make a dinner reservation, and they put me on hold, and they were playing a radio station that was playing a commercial for a different restaurant. And I said, that's a business. We need to fix this. They don't know where to go to get good stuff. And ever since then, we've been trying to help people find something useful and helpful on hold. We always say when people are being helped, they don't hang up. But today it's more and more complicated as the diversity of platforms has caused a lot of kind of unrest in our industry. Do we stream? Do we send files? How do we load? How do they change the files? How do we automate? There are so many challenges now. And still, with the popularity of the phone the way it is, with the popularity of um, automation, you have to wonder what is that caller experience really like? And so we've morphed from um, just an audio company that does cassette tapes and CDs in the 90s and then into the 2000s, breaking into some other things. 2013, we started streaming. And then from there, we realized that we can do a lot with the streaming because it's dynamic. So we have customers now that are using different platforms. We have different streaming servers and different methodologies so that everybody can get dynamic content. Good morning, good afternoon. A location has a unique message, a different location with a different message. Healthcare, COVID was very big. We have a mask policy. We don't have a mask policy. We need to change the message monthly. We're playing Jingle Bells every January and February. What do we do? So that's why we've come this far, having worked with Genesis, Cisco, Avaya, and now Microsoft.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Tim. Can you show us a little bit about the sort of what the solution looks like and just sort of go a
Yeah,
layer deep on the capabilities with Microsoft Teams Phone?
right. The idea, first of all, came out of the idea that we have a default that's quite repetitive. We also have the ability to load a file, but who's going to load the file? How long is it going to play? And how long is the file going to be relevant? And how much detail do you want to put in there if it's going to run for a long time? And then how long of a file or how many megs? I mean, we don't even know. Uh, so files is up till now the only way to get the on hold content into the Teams phone platform. So what we did was we went through a system whereby we authenticate with the Microsoft Tenant ID. Once that authentication happens, we have the ability to kind of hold that call into a virtual waiting room where the stream will play. The stream is always on. It doesn't play from a particular point or file. It's playing a rotation of content. We have a music only offering whereby you can select from a number of genres and the music will play up to an hour without repeating. And right then and there is already an advantage, right? Because now we don't have that same file over and over and over. Even if it's a custom file, it's going to have that repetition that drives people crazy. So at least now at minimum with the stream, in the hold queue anyway, we can run up to an hour's worth of music and not worry about a repeat. How it works, I can show you with a little bit of a screen share so you can get the idea of how customers are going to sign up and try this. So with this screen, you have a free trial for what we call solo. The solo stream is the trial stream. It's one channel of music for one tenant ID. From there, it would be a custom integration. So as you can see, just to begin with, we have a number of different genres. A gentle piano, a more of a corporate sound, something that's more like a chill, a little lo-fi, a little house, loungy. So with that variety, you would simply pick a particular genre and set up an account. Your tenant ID is required. Once you set up your account, you will be able to start streaming immediately. I have a video I can show where we go to that step. And if you'll watch, we have the genre selected, and then we will go and complete the form, and we'll include our tenant ID, create a password. The tenant ID will validate on the form. And in less than a minute, what you'll receive is this call hold policy. And with that, you'll be able to go into your PowerShell. And once in there, you can see the new policy. You'll just insert the unique stream ID. So it would look something like this. And then we'll have the URL as a part of that. Anybody can try it without any credit card or obligation. So the object is we want to prove to you that it works on your Teams phone platform. So just by using that online resource, which you can link to from our website, easyonhold.com, EASY onhold.com. From there, you'll get the code and put it right in, and it's streaming immediately. So we think that's a real benefit for those who may be either skeptical or new to the idea of trying a different source. And it's straightforward. It really is.
That policy that's being created, that is for the client hold music, right? So if someone calls into Teams and the user puts that call on hold, that's where the hold music is held. It's not in call queues today, correct?
It's not in the call queues today. So if you have an automation and then you want to hold the call before it gets to a human, that is in development. So Microsoft is planning to release that in the future. And certainly there's a demand for it, right? You can see that that naturally would be a demand for that. But right now, anytime a human hold occurs, that will play, the stream will play. So it's a matter of where your hold times lie. If you find that you're handling calls, but then calls need to wait because you need to go do something else, and that might be transfer the call, but it's already hit a human, so you're going to be in hold. You're going to get information for the caller. You're going to retrieve some information or facts that the caller is calling about. It's very useful in that space for right now. And then, of course, in the future, that'll be more universal. But you can also use a custom stream or a custom file that is more caller centric for that queue. And we provide those recordings.
And then if you're an organization that has multiple groups that want different experiences, I know I think the trial sign up, you get one. Is there options to create like separate streaming URLs based on different preferences or scenarios?
Right.
And then
it's pretty common, right, that you might want something different for a support line than a sales line. And so one tenant can have multiple streams. It's just that that's not a free trial. We would call that a premium customer because we're going to customize that solution. You may want to know about spoken content as well, because there are certainly organizations that are very tuned into marketing. We had a discussion this morning with a European group that definitely has something seasonal that they like to say. And so what's nice about the hold is that they can put the caller on hold, and at that moment, while they're going to check on an order, or if something is ready for them, or some other follow-up call, they can hear something that's really, really relevant, and the stream will actually change that when the seasons change or when the promotion changes. So it's a marketing tool as well. Habib?
Yeah, so thanks, Tim, for the info. So I'm just curious now, I guess, with the time of AI, are you guys doing anything sort of in that area to be able to build or generate custom messages from that perspective?
Yes. Today we have an IVR AI that is extremely helpful. And what we did differently for our version of AI voice, because you can get it from a lot of different sources. But what we have is we have customers that already have custom recordings from human voiceover talents that are on staff. Now, once they get those done, and we always say there's nothing better than the compassion of the human interpretation. But say you're a hospital or a medical center and you have all of your IVRs recorded by that human voice, and then something comes up that was unexpected. You can go into our AI and use that same voice, which has been cloned. And now your AI recordings in whatever language will match what you already have. So we promote a unified voice experience. The idea being that you don't want any of your callers to think they've been pushed off to some other platform, some other use case, or abandoned and picked up somewhere else. You want a unified sound, especially if you're very customer centric. You have a marketing team that's very focused on the caller experience, the caller journey, as it were. And so we can help you navigate that. But we do all the translations, and the voice characterizations are very good. What we'll do here in the next several months is have a rollout whereby you can add music underneath. So what our prototype does right now is you type in the text. We have an AI script suggestion tool, so it'll look and see if you're using both press and dial in the same sentence or message. It'll say, you probably mean press both times. So it'll make suggestions like that. It'll rearrange the wording a little bit so it's more conversational. So that's a script AI tool that we added. And then once you have that voice, you can choose to listen to how the voice turned out. And then if you like it, keep it as just a voice and put it in your stream. Or if you like, mix music. You can mix music ahead of it, underneath it, or after. That way, if you want just voice, and phone is made for voice. A lot of times when you mix the voice and the music together, it can be challenging if there's a lot of noise elimination going on or a noisy environment. It'll try to suppress some of that background sound. So you might want just a little piece of music and then a voice and then another little piece of music. So our system will build that for you. But traditionally, people put music underneath the voice. We also recommend that in a marketing environment, you restrict your voice recordings to a particular topic. That way, when that individual topic expires, you don't have to destroy your entire hold experience and rework it. You just take out that little element so that it's no longer relevant. You just remove it, just turn it off, or give it a schedule where it turns itself off. And that's really a great dynamic quality to that stream. Curtis?
Yeah, what I was wondering when you're talking about the COVID scenario and some of the other scenarios, I got thinking with certain businesses, they probably want a custom announcement based on certain criteria. Maybe it's time sensitive, something different on Tuesday versus Thursday. With your solution, can you create a schedule or sort of a workflow that has different announcements based on certain criteria?
Yeah. The stream is playing randomly. So if I have 8 paragraphs, we recommend 8 unique paragraphs at a time. Um, if you have exceedingly long hold times, that's a different scenario. Most cases, you want to plan on a few minutes, and in worst case scenario, maybe it's going to run 5 or 10 minutes. So you have enough topics that they randomize, and you don't know what's coming next. That actually helps the caller in that you don't feel like you've been on hold as long. If you hear the same thing and then it starts over again, your brain's going to count how many times it started over. If you randomize, then you kind of are providing something unexpected. And then you sneak in something like, hope you're having a good afternoon. We'll be right with you. Or good morning. Glad you called this morning. Thanks for being with us. And then something else plays. So you can insert that as well. A hospital was running a shuttle from their hospital to the downtown shopping center for families of those who were being treated. It was only running on Wednesday and Friday, and you had to get on the bus by noon or it didn't work. So we ran that message, but we didn't run it Wednesday and Friday afternoon because that would be frustrating. It already left. Why are you telling me that? Right. So you can build the schedule based on the need. If it's a restaurant, talk about lunch in the morning and dinner in the afternoon. If it has to do with a particular special event, very useful because people are meeting again, right? We're going to places in person again. We're having a special event. We're having an open house. We're having a meet and greet. You don't want that to be advertised after the date of the event, and that's where this is going to help.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Yep. All those would be what we would call a premium stream. And those are quoted individual, and the prices are based on really how much content, how's it being used, how widespread is the user, right? So a 30-second ad on the Super Bowl is going to cost more than if you're sponsoring your local high school football team radio station. So there's going to be a big difference in pricing. But right now, to just try it for one location up to 25 users is $9 a month. So we do want people to try it. If you're a small business, it makes sense to try it. It's a couple of dollars. You get going, and then you can decide, do I want to expand it to other locations? Do I want to add more content? I think we want to hear from Dino.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. You mentioned that above and beyond the music that you showed us earlier, businesses can upload or ask for custom streams. So I guess one of the scenarios is, obviously when you're uploading an MP3 and doing it natively in Teams, you're kind of responsible for making sure you're clearing all necessary rights and permissions and all that. So
yeah,
do you have access to other if they want to play a specific song, are you able to help clear some of that, or is it restricted to sort of the music that you already have?
Yeah, licensing is tricky. I'm glad you brought it up because it's confusing to most of everyone. The agreement right now that we have going forward on the Teams platform is that we have a particular library of music that has been approved. Now, as you saw, we have many genres of that music. We also have Christmas music, holiday music. So, we do have jingle bells and we do have, the Christmas carols and things like that are sung, that are vocalized. Most of it, however, is instrumental. Lyrics always seems to be a sticking point with companies. Well, I like that song, but I'm not sure about the lyrics. So licensing for hold queues in general requires streaming for popular music. The reason is you have something called an ephemeral right, which we pay through Sound Exchange. So we pay for the right to take the song, the popular songs. I always use You're the Inspiration by Chicago as the example because number one, everybody knows it. And number two, it sounds so great to have on hold. I'm inspired while I'm waiting. So Could you do that? Well, no, you can't, because that song has two kinds of rights. It has the rights of the Warner Brothers, which owns the recording, and has the rights of Mr. Cetera and the composers. And what they're going to want is a performance right. Now, I can take the music and make a copy and put it on my server to stream it, but I can't put it on your server and stream it. So, the short answer is no, you can't make a copy of a popular song and load it. Can you stream it? We can stream it on some platforms. Microsoft is not one because we have a narrow licensing agreement already in place. I think that in the future that will open up and we will be able to license more and more content. But because it's so new, I think we're playing it safe with the licensing. We don't want anyone saying, "Hey, that's my song. How did you get that on your phone?" It's really to protect all the parties. So we have lots and lots of music, hundreds of thousands of songs. But I think the best thing to do right now for teams is to utilize the legal library that's already been chosen for teams. That's not to say we don't stream elsewhere, and we can put music in your background in your office or your retail store, those kind of streams in the United States. But the licensing that we have will cover globally. So if you have offices in Europe, the Far East, United States, it won't matter. If you're using Teams, you're using the Teams approved music, you're going to be covered. And now you don't have to report. There's no tariffs and there's no reporting. I think that's a big question. How do I license music for on hold? Well, with this solution, you don't have to worry about it. So I think what we heard during our testing program, which you guys are familiar with, we really had people saying, "Boy, I'm glad I don't have to worry about the licensing because as soon as I send it over to legal, they tell me, no, you can't play that."
Thanks.
Questions. The sort of what Kurt was talking about earlier, you can bring your own announcements, and you said you can kind of schedule it, don't do it Wednesday afternoon or Friday afternoon. Are you able to prioritize specific announcements so that at least the caller will hear this announcement, first versus, because I think you said it was kind of random on across say 8. But what if one of them needs to always play as the first message that comes into the stream?
Right. So a couple of different ways to handle that. If it's that critical, you might put it in an automated answering queue. In other words, it might not be a hold item at that point. It may be a queue item. So, we've all heard, "Thank you for calling ABC Company," where right now we want to remind you the deadline for ABC collaboration is ending. So that might be something for the queue. As far as hold priority, we do have a priority feature. And what happens is when in your Easy on Hold portal, you schedule something, a particular topic, you can just click low, medium, or high priority. And if you assign it a high priority, everything's medium by default. But if you assign a high priority, it's going to play 3 times more often than any other message. So even in a fairly short queue, you're going to hear that message. So that's how we handled that. Because yes, we have the technology to force a message to play from the beginning. But we haven't implemented it because the demand really hasn't been for that, since it's usually in the initial queue if it's that important. And the priority feature is handling it for us. But if someone were to say that's a deal breaker, I absolutely have to have, yes. What we have built is very, very advanced in the way it handles the stream, the way it feeds files into the stream, the way it identifies the stream and does a backup stream. So I can have 2 streams running at the same time. If anything happens to one stream, not only will the other stream immediately take over, it will take over in the same spot in the file that's been playing so that no one will hear the difference. So the worst case scenario on a failover will be a little 50 millisecond gap, almost not noticeable. So we do have the failover built on the server side. And using that technology, we could custom script for a customer, if that's interesting to you. I know how you like to think. You're thinking about how can we custom fit, because you and I have both had clients where they've come up with something that as long as we've been in business, I've just never heard that demand before, but it's very interesting, and I'd love to be able to satisfy that request. Because no matter how far you go, right, Chris, you're going to get somebody that comes up with an idea that somehow I didn't think of that because that's never been brought to us. But yeah, we finally have a platform where it's advanced enough in its file handling and queuing that the stream can be built exactly how you need it.
So, Tim, is there any, I guess, statistics or analytics or metrics to go along with the platform as far as like listening time or if people hang up doing certain calls or certain music
Yeah,
as well?
that's really interesting. I just got a report from a client that ran a very significant test. I mean, it was thousands of calls. And so they're a truck center. What they do is they do sales and repairs of the big trucks, the big rigs, and they've got locations all across the country. And in the test, they were measuring call abandonment. And prior to using the Easy on Hold stream, they were probably at about a 94% for the parts department, which is decent. You're getting 94% of the calls all the way through to the destination and satisfied. After they added the streaming music, it was about 97%. So the question I will always present is, how do you know which call you're going to lose? How do you know which call is an important call, or how do you rate it as an unimportant customer? Is there such a thing? How do we know which call is going to get frustrated or which caller is going to hang up and try another provider? In the service department, hold times were a lot longer and abandonment rates went way up higher. So the longer you have, the more effective it will be. So we saw an improvement of almost, I want to say it was just by this report, it looks like it's about 12%. So we increased the number of calls going through to the service department 12% because the hold music made the call experience seem less desperate. It gets long and it gets to the point where I'm just going to have to call back some other time. So it's very helpful for call abandonment. As far as marketing goes, it's difficult to measure, right? Because how many customers bought because they heard about something that was on hold? What we're really doing is a lot of branding, just the way we talk, just the way we consult. When you have somebody who is a parent of a child who's in the hospital and they have to wait because they're trying to schedule an appointment, think about what has to go through their mind. Who's caring about them? Who's figuring out how to talk to them? That to me is where we can really do some improvement. If only we can get tech out of the way, which I think the stream will do, and get marketing and branding and product managers involved in developing the queue. Once your tech department sets a stream, they don't get involved any further. That's good news for everybody.
It is. That sounds great. Think we'll probably wrap it up there, Tim, unless there's any other messages you want to send to our listeners.
I invite people to try it. I mean, there's no cost to try it. See how easy it is. See what your use case is. We're looking for feedback. We would love to talk to any Teams users, Team Phone integrators who can further discuss this with us. And to be honest, Microsoft is looking for feedback. This is brand new. And so, as you know, they're very good about looking for content, feedback from users like yourselves, like customers that we're talking with. And again, I think it's just getting started. It's a new idea, but I think once we see how simple it is, it'll be the more of the default than the default. I certainly hope so.
Definitely. Well, I speak for 100% of the world in that I hate being on hold. So anything we do to make it better for the people on hold, better for the companies is a win. So
Yes, sir.
thanks for your time,
Yes.
Tim. Really appreciate it. It looks good. So yeah, I urge
Pleasure.
people to go sign up, give it a try. I think that's the best way.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks to all of you.